Okay, we're live. We are Weld. We're in the beautiful Kista Mall outside Stockholm, and this is Tom.
This is Marcus.
And today we're going to host a webinar on how to create animated web content. And we're going to start by showing you a little bit about Weld. And just 1 second as I share my screen here. So before we begin, I just want to say that we are currently live on YouTube. And next to the YouTube video player, you have a comment field. Please type comments there. We'll try to pick them up during the webinar and try to address them live. Otherwise, we'll address them later in the comments field. If you want to get in touch with us after, you can find us at tom@weld.io or marcus@weld.io. And this is what we're going to go through today. So we're going to start with a little introduction to Weld in general. And then we're going to talk about animations on the web and what you can do with that, both in Weld and on the web in general. We're going to look at embedded animations on websites. We're going to look at using Gif images for animation and how to create basic user interactions. So first, an intro by Marcus about Weld.
Thank you, Tom. So before we get started, let me just state the obvious. It really is no secret that most of the stuff you put on the web today is, mostly easily done in a text way. As soon as you talk about animations, it quickly becomes quite expensive and very time consuming. So our vision for the web is a place where you can be as creative as you want, really without any restrictions at all. We want Weld to be like a canvas where you can put your ideas into great content. It's very easy to get started with Weld. Often it takes minutes to integrate into your current CMS, and it boosts it in a way where it now is really possible for you to create animated, interactive content for your e-commerce platform. So the way most of our customers chooses to use Weld is to embed content on their specific site in a number of places. And those places or panes, they can be as creative as they want. Try different ideas, and within hours or minutes, publish those ideas and do A/B testing and be experimental on their sites. Some of our customers today, just to name a few, is we have Whirlpool, Telia, Indiska. Really, we have all the different kinds of industries, and all of them, I think, that getting an online presence is becoming more and more important.
What would you say is the key problems that we solve for these customers?
Well, I think the key problem for most customers is that as soon as you talk about the web, it's as I said in the beginning, it's complicated, it's expensive. We need to get the IT department involved. We need to go to a third-party company, and by basically having Weld at your fingertips, you yourself are able to be very, very powerful in terms of having an idea and going live with it very, very quickly. It really isn't a matter of starting up an IT project. You don't need to understand code. So in that sense, it's very, very easy. Cool. So I think the best thing is always to show
Absolutely
how the product works. So over to you, Tom.
Yeah. So we're going to jump into the Weld tool shortly, but first I want to talk about animation on the web in general. And there's a couple of ways you can bring animation and movement onto a website today. The most obvious solution, of course, is video. You can embed video clips from YouTube or Vimeo. on your website. You can also use animated GIF images to create animation. But then we have the more sophisticated animation tools that the web provides. One is animating elements on the page itself, where a subset of this is SVG animation, which is SVG is the scalable vector graphics solution that exists for the web, and this is sort of you could say as a subset of the way you animate things on a page in general. Weld actually supports all these mechanisms, where with an emphasis on page elements. That's the sort of the what Weld does the best. But we're going to look at all of these mechanisms. So now I'll switch over to Weld. And by the way, if you have any questions, just type on our YouTube page, and we'll address the questions in real time. So I can show you. We'll start looking at videos and GIF images because that's fairly simple to start with. I'm now inside a Weld editor. This webinar is not about how Weld works in general, so I'm just going to give a very quick overview of where we are and what we're looking at. So you can imagine Weld as a kind of PowerPoint tool, or a tool similar to PowerPoint, where at the top you have a menu bar where you can create new objects. You have the insert menu with more complex objects. There's copy and paste functionality and stuff like that in the edit menu. On the left side, you have a menu side panel where you have the different screens and or pages in your project. And on the opposite side, you have a formatting bar where you can select colors and fonts and all those kind of style settings for your objects. So first of all, I'm gonna just add a video. And I add that on the insert menu. There's a couple of ways of playing video in Weld. I'm gonna use the standard YouTube object. It looks like this. And if I open the right sidebar, I can enter the link to my YouTube or Vimeo clip here. And that's all there is to it, actually. You can just move the video around. You can toggle the autoplay setting on and off. And then when I preview this, it becomes a YouTube object, and I can play that right on my page. So I'll delete that, and now we're going to look at animated GIF images, and that's also very simple to use. So there's a couple of ways I can add images to my Weld project. One is to draw an image placeholder with the image tool here in the toolbar and double-click on it. Another way is just dragging and dropping an image from your desktop. And I drop it. It takes a couple of moments for it to upload. Here you go. Here you have the animated GIF. And then I can move it around. I can resize it, place it wherever I want it. So that's how you use videos and animated GIF images in Weld. But now we're going to look at the more built-in animation tools in Weld for creating more powerful animations. And here's a basic gallery of products. Could be a fashion website, e-commerce website for clothes or similar, where I just have a couple of images and buttons below them. And these are standard Weld objects that you add easily. So now we're going to make this page a bit more interesting with adding some animations to it. And right now the page looks like this. It's kind of static. Nothing happens when I hover with my mouse over the images or the buttons. But we're going to change that. So Weld actually has two animation tools built in, and one simple and one more advanced. We're going to look at both. The simple one is found at the bottom of the page in the editor, where you have the two arrows pointing up and down. If I click that, the blue buttons that are replaced with green buttons that says normal, mouse over, and click. And from here, I can define simple animation states on a particular object on the screen. So to begin with, we're just going to add subtle transparency animations. So what I do then is I select my images, the three photos in the background, and I'm going to drag down the opacity so it becomes a bit more grayish towards the white background, like so. So this is the normal state. They're going to be a bit transparent. But then I want something to happen when I have my mouse over the images. So I click the mouse over button at the bottom. So now I'm in the mouse over state. And from here, I can pull the opacity back up to 100%. So now I have the normal state with 50% transparency and the mouse over state with no transparency or 100% opacity. And then when I preview this, you'll see the animation in use. So when I hover over the images, they will light up one by one, like so. The limitation of this animation tool is that it can only affect the image itself. Or the mouse over can only trigger an animation on the object that has the mouse over it right now. But let's say I want to do something different. Like I want to do something with the image when I hover over the button, or vice versa. Maybe I want to make the button light up when I hover over the image. To do that, I need to use the more powerful animation tool in Weld, and it's called Action Blocks. It's found on the Actions menu at the top. So when I click that, I get a panel at the bottom. And here you can see green building blocks that says click, mouse over, drag, drop, scroll, and auto start. So here I can add a mouse over block. The green blocks are called triggers. They will trigger an animation or some kind of interaction. So I drag the mouse over block over here. And once I added one green block, I get the panel expands to show me blocks of other colors. And the other colors are actions that can happen after the mouse over event is triggered. And to achieve this effect, I can just rely on the Animate Block. There's a couple of blocks here, and you can make quite powerful interactions with them. But for animation purposes, the Animate Block and to some extent the Reset Animation Block are the only ones you actually need. So I'm going to add an Animate Block. And Animate, you can see there is a small settings icon on it. So I can click on it and see some options for the block. And Animate in Weld is quite simple, the Animate Block. It basically makes a transition between two states, one starting state and one end state. And you can select how fast the transition should be. Default here is 500 milliseconds, which is half a second. So basically now, from here, I just want to make the button light up. So I click on the end state, and I get this green box saying that I'm now editing the end state for this animation. And now I can actually modify all the objects on the canvas, not just the image itself. I can select with any other object. And I need it to work with an image here. So So I select the image, and I want basically this button to invert. So I'm gonna make the background white and the text go black, like so. And now I have these two states. The actions panel is sort of hiding the button right now. So in order to see this effect take place, I have to close it and then go to the preview screen. So now I have, when I hover over the image, not only does the image become brighter, but also the button lights up. And with action blocks, you can make quite complex animations that are linked to each other in different ways. And it would be easy for me to make a similar animation on the other buttons as well. But we're going to move ahead and look at a more complex animation where we animate movement and opacity and other properties. So here's the graphics I have to work with. I have an image here. It's a cut-out PNG image, so I don't have any white frame around it. There's a rectangle here, or a box, and there's a couple of text objects here. What I want to do now is I want this this white box with the text to sort of fly in and become visible when I hover over the model. I also want the model to grow slightly in size when I hover over it. So what I do now is I will select the model and open the actions panel. Very similar to how we started last time. Then I add a mouse over block and animate. And then I can define the end state. So I'm clicking the end state. So I now edit how the all the objects will look like when the animation is triggered. And from here, I can select the objects that I want to affect, and make sure the opacity is at max. I also move it to where I want it to be. That way, I get a position sort of recorded in the state I'm editing. And then I click done. And what I have now is I have an animation from this state to this. And that's not really what I want to achieve. I want the box with the text to be invisible in the start state. So I go to the start state, and I will select the objects. I'll move them out here because I want the box to sort of fly in from the side when the animation is triggered. And also, I'll pull down the opacity to 0, so it's invisible. That makes it a bit difficult to select it but I know it's here, so I can always select it like that. And now the animation is between here and this state, from start state to the end state. And now when I preview it, I have the box flying out. And when I release, when the mouse is outside the model, the animation is reverted. And also, I wanted the model to grow a little bit. So I'll open the Animate Block again, press the end state. And from here, I can just make the model slightly bigger. and now you have this subtle animation going back and forth. And to look at more how this can look in a more complete animation, I have a similar project with a couple of other objects, more images in place. And here you have both the white box sort of becoming visible, but you have the diamond-looking sprites in the background that sort of move and rotate as I move things around. But the same basic concept that we just applied. And in this image, or in this canvas, all the diamonds, all the models are individual images, PNG images with transparent background. Can also show you can make even more complex animations with the action blocks where you actually react to user input, like pulling a slider or entering a value in a text box or selecting something from a drop-down menu, and that can in turn trigger an animation.
Cool. I have a question, Tom.
Yeah.
So let's say you pull off this amazing animation.
Yeah.
How easy is it to actually publish on your site?
So that's usually very simple to publish. There you can create a little embed script, and I can show that in a second from the screen here as well. Weld can generate an embed script for you, and you paste that into your normal web platform or CMS, if it's WordPress or App Server or whatever it is. And where you have pasted this script, a little rectangle with the Weld content will appear on your live website. So to find this embed code, I go to Publish in Weld, and I click Embed. And here you have a button that says Generate Embed Code. And I click that, and I copy this piece of code. It's just 2 lines of code. You paste that into your normal website, and then the Weld content will appear where the script is, or where the little code snippet is.
And is that Google friendly as well?
It is. The technology we use is called a friendly iframe. So all the content will be sort of registered as belonging to the host website. So if I paste this into my own website, the content will look like it's actually on my website, not on Weld's website. So yes, it's SEO optimized. And we also we have a native plugin for App Server, and we can sort of add Weld content on the back end, and then it becomes fully integrated with your own website.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
So I think that was sort of the stuff I was planning to show today.
Yeah.
And I think we have one question from Hamed. Or is it a question, or is it?
You thought my question was good.
Ah, okay. Okay. That's a compliment. All right. Thank you anyway, Hamed. Yeah, you can keep typing questions here in the YouTube on the YouTube page even after we stop broadcasting, and we will address them later. And then again, if you want to get in touch with us, you can always find us on Weld.io, and our email is Tom@Weld.io and Marcus@Weld.io.
Great.
So I think with that, we'll say goodbye for today. And thank you for joining us.
Have a great day, guys.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.